So now we get into the next match, the match I think a lot of us were very excited for, and that was the rematch from BOSJ 25, Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi. This was also, in my opinion, a great match. It was not quite the 17 2/5 of a quarter star match that their BOSA 25 match was, but it was definitely a high-paced, high-action, high-octane classic that you expect from these two men. Takagi and Ospreay had this like very, and I say this a lot, that like the typical high-flying, you know, sequences that happen at the very beginning of the match, I kind of get tired of them at some point, because like we've seen it so many times where it's junior versus junior and they're doing the counters where one does the Hurricanrani, lands on his hands, and then they do the flip, and then they do the Superman pose. You know, this trend started with Ospreay and Ricochet in BOSJ 26, not BOSJ 26, BOSJ 23, and you could date it back to even further than that, 1990s in the WCW days, and maybe even further back than that. But I feel like we've seen it so many times since then. It just lost its luster. And here I felt like it almost just kind of reinvigorated. And I think a lot of that might be because we only seen one Ospreay versus Shingo match since their last encounter. Well, I think this is the only match they had since their last encounter. But even then, you just got that feel that this is going to be like a great match just from the opening start. And then they went on the outside, and they're still going at each other. And Shingo hit a DVD on the outside, which really set the tone from there. And we saw a lot of heavy vibes of heel Will Ospreay. We've been seeing it since really day one of G1 Climax. And his match with Yujiro Takahashi came off kind of heelish. And his match against Ishii came off kind of heelish. And here, even like before the match starts, he's taking his jacket off, and he's giving it to Young Lion. He's like, "Good boy," or something like that. And it's like, ew. And even in spots where he's going at Shingo here, you see the man, he's doing his heavyweight stances, you know, he's holding his feet down, and I feel like we've been going through this notion of Will Ospreay's trying to incorporate that heavyweight style, and I feel like I saw it here, but at the same time, I still saw Junior Ospreay, which I don't have an issue with, because Junior Ospreay is still great, and I feel like in here, we still saw those glimpses of like the old Ospreay, where he would no-sell, and it almost kind of wouldn't make sense. Like, there was one spot towards the end, which I'm going to jump forward closer to the end of the match, where Ospreay is on the top rope with Shingo, and Shingo gets him in this fireman's carry position. Now, at first, I'm thinking he's going to hit his Last of the Dragon off the top rope, which would have been sick. Very dangerous, but sick. But he hits the DVD, the Death Valley driver, onto Ospreay off the middle rope, and goes for the pin, and Ospreay kicks out of one. And I'm like, is that really a move you should have kicked out of one for? Like, I can understand if he does like the close 2 count, or if he even would have got the pin, I would have bought that. But he kicked out of one and then almost got up immediately from it. And then they started, you know, doing the I guess this is Ospreay's way of doing his fighting spirit spot, but it just felt kind of forced and rushed, and I just didn't like that. And he did it a few other times in this match, and it just felt forced and rushed. And like I said, the old Ospreay, where people knocked him all the time for no selling and just very goofy, silly types of where he's just doing that very exasperated and over the top, like heavy breathing, and it's like, bro, you're not dying, chill out. So we saw that in the match, which kind of bugged me, and I feel like that took away from it being 8.5 in my opinion. But Shingo came away with this with the win, hitting his Last of the Dragon on Ospreay. I thought it was still a great match. I give it an 8, not 8.5, but an 8. Wasn't as great as their BOSA 25 match, which if I took a step back and watched it back, it might be a 9, maybe a 9.5. But this was still great. My opinion, like I said earlier in the review, I think a lot of people really dial back their enjoyment of these matches because of Will Ospreay's involvement in the speaking out movement, and not the good kind of involvement, the involvement where he is vouching for sexual abusers and defending them and getting people blacklisted from wrestling because they're speaking out against their sexual abusers. And like I said, I feel like for those people, if you cannot get into Will Ospreay matches for that reason, I have no right to tell you, how dare you turn your eye on Will Ospreay or anything. But for me, I feel like I have the ability to see a Will Ospreay match, basically just completely take my mind off of Not what Will Ospreay did. Not at all. I cannot ignore Will Ospreay did like some people can, but almost in a way kind of segregate the match itself from the guy who's in the match. Like, I know Will Ospreay's wrestling in the match. I just can't cheer from him. I don't see a reason to cheer for him. I can't really what's the word I'm looking for? I can't get behind him. I can't sympathize or empathize with him in this match. Like, I feel like that's part of the reason why a lot of the overselling in here, I'm just like, really? Maybe that's part of the reason why. I feel like it's probably not. I feel like it's just him overselling because it's bugging me some. But I just find it a little easier to enjoy these matches if I just completely negate myself from Will Ospreay in these matches. Just completely shut yourself out from this guy in the ring. Because Shingo's in the ring, and Shingo's awesome. Shingo did nothing wrong, as far as I know. So Shingo's awesome. He's great. Let's watch it for Shingo. That's how I see it. And that's how I'm going to go about it for now on, basically. And that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more content like this was taken from my Patreon page, patreon.com/TylerMask. Big shout out to Mason Goldberg, who is the only Patreon we have at the moment, and we will grow as we go. For only $1 a month, you can subscribe to my Patreon and get more access to New Japan Pro Wrestling reviews, video essays, discussion topics that you will not see on YouTube, as well as other content coming soon. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing to the Tyler Mask YouTube channel and going to twitch.tv/TylerSuplex, where I will be doing live streams in the coming days and weeks. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you all very much, and I will talk to you all later, guys. Peace.